Good morning, Chair. Thank you for the opportunity to join this panel and discuss the critical role of CalFresh and our state's food programs. My name is Benyamin Chao. I'm the Supervising Health and Public Benefits Policy Manager at the California Immigrant Policy Center, and I'm also here on behalf of the Food4All Coalition. Since CIPC was founded over nearly 30 years ago, we have advocated for policies that uphold the humanity of every human being, regardless of where they're born. Therefore, we reject all of the policies recently that increase the exclusions that allow us to deny someone access to food because of their immigration status. You already know what CalFresh is. It's a means-tested program that is designed to provide support when someone has demonstrated a need based on their income. For those of us born outside of the US, your immigration status may be used as a reason to deny you CalFresh when you have that need. CIPC is a co-sponsor of the Food4All campaign with Nourish California and have united with diverse stakeholders in the Food4All coalition from San Diego to Humboldt, from LA to the Bay, to advocate for the end of exclusions within our safety net based on immigration status. We are grassroots organizations, service providers, and immigrants' rights leaders that believe that everyone in California should have access to programs like CalFresh. No exceptions, no exclusions, and no delays. As you heard earlier, the federal government has unleashed an assault on CalFresh access, placing particular attention on ways to limit eligibility for immigrants, and also discouraged eligible families from enrolling and increased administrative barriers to enrollment. Benefit cuts, threats of sensitive enrollment data being shared with ICE, and the unmitigated hostility towards immigrants we are seeing has resulted in immigrants increasingly being locked out of pathways to stability like CalFresh, or choosing not to participate over fears of their own safety. I would like to focus primarily on one of these pillars of anti-immigrant policy, which is tying eligibility to immigration status. Immigration-based exclusions effectively create two tiers of food assistance access for Californians, where Californians who are immigrants are less able to tap in. The most recent exclusions went into effect exactly 1 week ago. As a result of H.R. 1, nearly 72,000 Californians will no longer be eligible for CalFresh because of their immigration status, and H.R. 1 stripped eligibility away from the humanitarian immigrants that other speakers have touched on. These are people who have arrived in our state and were promised safety and are now being denied the most basic support, which is food. These are people who have assisted the US government abroad. They have fled countries impacted by war like Ukraine and Afghanistan, and have resettled in our state and whose families will contribute to the future fabric of California. According to data from the California Budget and Policy Center, which will be available in a forthcoming publication, 36% of the impacted population of these humanitarian immigrants are children, and 10% are seniors or adults with a disability. These changes will also have a significant impact on US citizen and permanent residents who share a home with these newly excluded individuals. For example, a 4-person family where 2 of the parents have been granted asylum and 2 of their children are US citizens could see their monthly food assistance drop from $994 on average to $546 on average, nearly cut in half. This analysis found, using samples of SNAP enrollment data, that about 29,000 US citizen children and 13,000 other family members who are US citizens or permanent residents will be indirectly impacted by this cut. If we don't backfill these benefits, that means about 114,000 Californians in CalFresh households will feel the impact in some way and be at higher risk of hunger. We believe state action is essential. California has a powerful tool in the California Food Assistance Program, otherwise known as CFAP. This program was created nearly 30 years ago to respond to a similar federally induced crisis when federal welfare reform laws created new eligibility restrictions for immigrants. 3 decades ago, elected leaders in similar shoes as yours created the program to protect the integrity of our food safety net and prevent a hunger crisis. We've worked to modernize this program, and in 2021, the state of California began planning to modernize CFAP so that it can deliver state-funded and state-administered EBT benefits to any income-eligible Californian, regardless of their immigration status. In 2023, we established a timeline for those ages 55 and over, and this original plan was set to be completed by October 2025, but it was unfortunately delayed to October 2027. And I want to bring this up because if the CFAP expansion was kept to its original timeline, we would be in a much better position today to respond to HR 1, because the same system changes that would have allowed us to administer these benefits 100% by the state would allow us today to respond to these new exclusions put in place against humanitarian immigrants. And so with renewed urgency, we continue to advocate for Food4All in order to prevent the costs and consequences of hunger induced by HR 1. And as part of this platform, we've requested the legislature to protect and implement the planned CFAP expansion for adults age 55 and older, and do that no later than October 2027. Expand CFAP to include those newly excluded under HR 1 and move towards a full expansion for all Californians. And we're asking for this because the data is clear. California produces nearly half of the nation's fruits, nuts, and vegetables, yet half of Californians who are excluded from food assistance due to their immigration status report experiencing food insecurity. 64% of immigrant Californians without legal permanent resident status are living in or near poverty. This is according to the California Poverty Measure. So 64% compared to 35% statewide. The data tells us what we already know, that exclusion causes hunger. I would like to comment on one other provision of HR 1 that will limit CalFresh access for Californians who are immigrants, and that is the implementation of work time limits beginning in June this year. About 665,000 people we estimate will lose federal food assistance simply because they cannot meet the work or community engagement reporting rules because counties lack sufficient resources to process these exemptions, or because their exemption was eliminated by the federal government. These new harsher time limits for CalFresh recipients deepen existing inequities for people who already face discriminations and barriers to full-time employment, and this would include immigrants. Looking at the data, while foreign-born Californians have a lower unemployment rate than their US-born counterparts, there disparities exist in educational attainment and language ability that can make it challenging to secure employment. According to US Census data from 2024, 18% of foreign-born Californians who are college educated are either unemployed or employed in a low-skilled job, which is higher than those who are US-born. We are aligned with other anti-hunger advocates in modernizing CFAP even further so that we have the ability to deliver state-funded benefits to households impacted by the time limits. At the California Immigrant Policy Center, we believe that no Californian, no human being should have to face hunger. These cuts were designed to fuel other federal priorities. This includes tax breaks that disproportionately benefit the wealthy and increased funding for immigration enforcement. These cuts pull resources away from CalFresh, our survival, and funnel our tax dollars into systems that inflict violence in immigrant communities. We all just want to live without fear, and that includes the fear of going hungry. California must protect its progress, restore the harmful HR 1 cuts, and move forward with expanding food access to CFAP because we need to feed families, not fear. We need to feed children and not separate their families. And we need to feed our neighbors and not turn our backs on them. Thank you.